Welcome to another episode of Have Game Will Travel. I'm your host, Bennett Newsome, also known as Damn It Bennett out in the gaming community. But as the director of esports growth and development at Full Sail University, I'm super passionate about exploring the diverse world of esports and gaming beyond just like skill levels. So whether you're a first-time listener or returning fan, we're thrilled to have you join us for this virtual journey through the experiences of industry professionals. But get ready to engage with our guests and learn from their perspectives. Don't forget to submit your questions in chat. We'll get them featured on the show. And, sit back, enjoy the ride as we kick off another episode of Have Game Will Travel with my guests. Darkness, welcome to the show, man. How are you doing? Hold on. Let me pull you in here real quick. There we go.
Nice.
And my stream deck disappeared, so I couldn't push the button. But welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Thank you. Good. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Absolute pleasure.
Go ahead and introduce yourself for everyone here so they know here. A brief little intro for yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Tim. I go by Darkness429. That's my gaming moniker for, since I was 14. I'm 35. So that tells you how long I've been playing video games under that handle. And yeah, I'm a full-time content creator. I've been doing live streaming for over a decade now. And then, I do short form like everybody else. And I also own a coffee company. I put on a really big event in Orlando every year called GCX, the Gaming Community Expo. We do that at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. And then we also have our company called Rare Drop. So there's a little bit of everything going on here for me.
Diversification. That's a big part of it, which is a very important piece of content creation in 2025, is it not?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, dude. And that was always the big thing for me. Not to get too deep, I'm sure we'll get to this point at a different time in the show, but that was always a big thing for me with building up, Darkness429, this franchise, this brand. Whatever this thing was going to be, I knew there's going to be a stopping point. This isn't going to last for forever, right? And so I wanted to make sure that I had those things to fall back on. I had things that I could continue working on and put energy into that wasn't just live streaming.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said 14 is kind of when gaming like really kicked off for you. Talk to me a little bit about.
Yes,
that.
I mean that would be online gaming.
Okay.
So I mean, like I honestly cannot remember a time where I didn't have a controller in my hand.
Right.
My dad was a computer science major. I remember holding an NES controller in the back porch of my parents' apartment playing Super Mario Brother. Like that's how far back my memory goes.
Yeah.
I remember playing Duck Hunt. I grew up on an SNES. I had an N64. We had a PlayStation. So I mean, like gaming has always been a part of my life. It's in my DNA.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until Battlefield 2, so circa 2004, right? I started to dabble in this idea of creating content. It was podcasting actually at the time. That was what everybody was doing. Everybody was podcasting. Major Nelson was getting into podcasting. Leo Laporte was getting into podcasting. And so like this was the big thing. So I actually ended up joining a team called the Battlefield Podcast.
Okay.
And so that was it was Shock 1, Shock 2, GI Jersey, and then I would come in and I would be kind of like their reporter, right? I would be the guy who would like this is what's going on in the Battlefield community this week. And so like I was always in the forums, I was always talking to people. And so like, that was really fun for me. And growing up, I always wanted to be a radio show host. I always thought the idea of being a talk show host and having a show, being able to engage with people, and these people wanted to engage with the host. I thought that was so cool. This back and forth, this idea that you had a platform where you could speak your mind, talk about things, entertain people in certain ways, either through bits or through just music or however that show was formatted. There was ways to entertain people. And I was always just captivated by that. I was also captivated by voiceovers. I always thought like commercials. Don LaFontaine was someone that I loved in a world, like that, like that was, like Don LaFontaine gave me this love for being behind the microphone. And so in Leo Laporte kind of like was another person that I paid attention to, that I admired. All of this guy sitting in his garage that was, changed into a studio, and he's building out all these shows. It wasn't just one show. He did like 10 shows. I thought that was so interesting. So anyways, I continued my schooling. I was in high school at the time. I started to go to college. And the idea of live streaming started to pop up. This idea of like YouTube. I didn't do YouTube. That just wasn't my thing. I didn't have a lot of joy in editing videos. It was not fun for me. But the idea of just like sitting behind a microphone and talking, and someone else edited that. That was cool. That was
Yeah.
neat. And you know, one day someone had mentioned Justin.tv. What the heck is that? Like, it's like YouTube, but
Yeah.
it's live, and the comment section is a chat room. People are talking like AIM. You know, at the time it was AOL Instant Messenger, or it was
Right.
like
Yeah.
MS,
Yeah.
it was like Hotmail chat and things like that. And it was like, oh my God. So you've got live video, and then you've got this interactive chat room. That's so cool. And no one was really touching it at the time. There was a lot of people, like, to go live back then was so difficult. This is my junior year in college. I'm going to school for biology, by the way. I had no want to be a part of, be a marketer. I didn't want to be a
Right.
business. I didn't want to go to business school. I didn't want to go to anything and everything that has to do with what I do now. I was so
So
far
far
away
away.
from it. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
And so, you know, at the time I was going to school, and I had an off semester where just like I just wasn't feeling school. And all I wanted to do was just like I wanted to work, and I took a semester off. I just took the spring semester off, and I worked and I streamed, and like that was it. I'm like, that was so much fun. I had a freaking blast. And then I put that away and I went back to school and I finished things up. And then long story short, kind of just to get through like the beginnings of my streaming career, and like how do we get
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the dude who played Battlefield to kind of like how you started streaming. That was pretty much like how I got to like the start of streaming was Battlefield 3, Justin.tv, which was kind of starting to turn into Twitch, right?
Right.
And so like I was back in Battlefield. People who used to watch me listen to me in Battlefield podcasts, I still had like that small community. I was still involved with the Battlefield community, and I was getting more and more involved in it. We were doing things like gloves for tags, which was a sponsored thing by Mechanicsware. The guy who ran the social marketing for Mechanicsware was a big Battlefield fan,
Okay.
and he loved Battlefield podcast. And so we were still kind of like putting out episodes, and you know we were still doing a lot of just like audio. But he was a big fan of it, and he invited me to be a part of one night. And it was called Gloves for Tags. And it's like I was doing more and more of those things, and which kind of just gave me the confidence to really start streaming.
Yeah.
But then school and life happened, and I put a pause on that. We ended up moving. And long story short, I was very, very depressed at that time after leaving school, and all our friends. It was just my wife and I, and she was doing her career, and I still needed to go to school to finish up some prerequisites. And I wasn't in a great place mentally. And so I would just turn on my stream at night, and, you know, people popped in and talked. Then
Yeah.
that was awesome. That was a way for me to kind of just connect
Connect.
and
Yeah.
that was it. I was looking for connections. And that's what brought me back to streaming. And Titanfall came out, and I stuck through that, and I got partnered, and a lot of other things happened along the way. And now
Yeah.
we're
The
here.
rest is history, right? Yeah.
The rest is history. So that's kind of like a brief insight as to like
Yeah.
how I got started. Like, how did 14-year-old Tim get really passionate? Is because podcasting, voiceover actors, and Battlefield.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
That's all. And it's cool because so much of what you do now has a little bit of all of those kind of pieces in it together. You know, you
Yeah.
have podcasts. You've been doing some stuff with Kevin, obviously, in Rare Drop. There's just a lot of things that you have had over the last couple of years that have been really fun to watch. Do you have like a moment where you kind of like realized like, hey, this is something that I want to pursue, like gaming and streaming? It's more than just a hobby now. Like there's an opportunity here. Do you remember when that moment was, or does
Yeah.
anything that sticks out in your mind about that?
Oh yeah, no. So I was part-time working at Best Buy, and I was going to school, and I had started streaming, and it was kind of popping off.
Yeah.
Titanfall had come out. I was doing a bit of Titanfall, some DayZ. I was doing like Titanfall in the day. I was doing DayZ at night. And I was going to school during the day, and then in between that, I was going to work. It was a lot. Like I was doing a lot.
And you were
And
married at this time, or
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I totally forgot. I was a
Family.
husband. I am a husband. You know, we had just, honestly, we were only like 2 or 3 years into our, so newlyweds. You know, like we were
Newlyweds,
still
yeah.
we were figuring us out.
Yep.
We were figuring out how to live as us, and then also like go into our careers and figure out what the heck we're gonna do with our lives, right?
Yep.
And so like that was another big part of it. And I started doing some things. You know, I was doing Titanfall. I got partnered over the summer, so I started streaming in February of 2014. I went all the way through, and I didn't get partnered until it was was like June or it was like June or July of that year that I got partnered on Twitch, which was crazy. But like I was the only dude playing Titanfall. Like
Yeah.
literally, I was the Titanfall guy. And so like that was my ability. That gave me the ability to apply for partnership. Got that. I wasn't pulling in crazy money. In no way, shape, or form was I pulling in solid money, but it was enough money where my full-time engineer wife was like, okay, if you're able to keep that going,
Yeah.
leave Best Buy. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
what do you need to save for Best Buy for if you're making that money? So that was the moment when I remember putting in my 2 weeks and talking to my manager and being like, I'm done. He's like, why are you leaving? I was like, because remember that video game thing? Because at the time he had only seen me go to London. I had an opportunity to go to London for the Battlefield 4 launch.
Oh, wow.
It was EU versus America.
Right.
And that was the big Battlefield 4 showdown. And I was just the podcaster. I was just the Battlefield podcast guy at the time. I really didn't do much. And so this was before I started streaming on Titanfall. I got pulled in for the Battlefield podcast.
That's awesome.
And that was the only thing that he knew about. That was the only thing that he knew. I went to London, I played Battlefield, and then I came back. They didn't know about the live streaming that I was doing. And I told him, I was like, I've been live streaming on Twitch, and I'm good. And like that was the moment. That was the big moment. And then when I stopped going to school was the next one.
Yeah.
Having to make the decision to put school away to pursue, because my schooling was so far away from what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a physician's assistant. Like that's
Okay,
what I
yeah.
wanted to be. I wanted to be a PA. I wanted to be a doctor without all of the red tape and everything,
Right,
without all of the
right.
politics, which is essentially that. You get your hands dirty, you get in there, you get to do the cool stuff. But you don't have to go through all the other things that doctors need to go to. And I was like, that's awesome. I want to do that. That
Yeah.
sounds great. That was my passion. And so I had to make the decision. I was like, okay, I can go to PA school. PA school is always going to be there. People are always going to get sick. Anatomy's not going to change.
Right.
The science might get better, but for the most part, your basics are always going to be there. So that schooling is not going to go away. But an opportunity to play video games and make money and do
Yeah.
something that a lot of people can never say that they've been able to do successfully.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I think it's very, very awesome that people are able to say, I'm a full-time content creator.
Yeah.
And they can say that with confidence, not like, oh, I'm a full-time content creator and you're making like $100 a month, right? Like that's
Right. You're
awesome.
paying
But
your
that's like,
bills.
that's fun money,
Yeah.
right? That's fun money. There's a difference between it being a hobby and it kind of just, you're getting things back slowly versus I'm able to take care of my family with this.
Yeah.
And so like that was a big deal. And so I was like, I really want to pursue something where I'm not kicking myself in the butt 10 years down the road, because that was the decision. I was like, if I don't take this by the horns, like things were starting to really pick up. I was like, if I don't take this by the horns and really take this opportunity and run with it, I might not ever have this opportunity again. And so like that was the big talk my wife and I had. And so we were like, okay, if you can continue to keep this going, then absolutely keep going.
Okay.
So
So
yeah, man.
Titanfield's kind of that game that put you on the map, right? That's where you got partnered. That's where you started to build your community. And
That is, I can't say enough things about the Titanfall community, and there are certain people at EA that I still know to this day because they found me playing that game.
Right.
And so like I still talk to people that are either like in different part of like in the marketing department or like whatever, but like there are so many opportunities that I've had working with that company, or if people that knew me when they were working there, they went somewhere else and then I got pulled along there. I mean, it is so weird to like, it's almost like, how everything kind of like goes back to Fortnite.
Yeah.
Like for me, everything goes back to Titanfall. My entire career, I sprouted because of my love for robots, big robots and shooting things. Like that was it, man. And so it's, I met community managers. I've gotten to sit down with the president of EA at the time because I was a Battlefield fan. Like, I mean, literally, like I went from playing Titanfall to Battlefield 4 and just like sticking with those games and being a part of that culture and in that community opened up just so many more doors within the gaming industry for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I want to like start to try to do a better job of on the show is understanding gamer tags, right? Like Darkness429. You gotta
There's
give
nothing
us,
there.
There's gotta be something.
Nothing there. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to know what was there? It was 14-year-old me not knowing what to call himself and never had an identity other than being Tim or Timmy, right? And if I could go back if I could go all the way back and knowing that I was going to have to deal with branding and
Right.
building a story and all of these things, dude, I would just say grab Timmy for
Yes.
everything. Just
Yeah.
TIMMEH for everything, because that is what people call me. Dude, I still to this day, I mean, I just literally, we have been using this example for some things, but I was in Lowe's the other day and someone goes, Timmy? And I flip around. I'm like, oh, hey, it's a fan. Like I wasn't
What's up?
expecting that, but people don't go Darkness. It's
Yeah.
just like, like everyone look at me like, you're really nice. Why are you Darkness? And I was like,
Darkness.
it's just like, it was a name and I ran with it. And it was what people called me. And back then, back in the day, 15 years ago plus, having a gamer tag like that, like XX
Yeah.
Darkness429
Yeah.
XX, like that was the thing. That's
was
how
the
we
thing.
identified ourselves in Halo, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
The lowercase, uppercase X's on each side because it looked cool on Xbox Live, right?
Absolutely.
So I kept that. I just kept it and I ran with it. So there is no history there other than it is a gamer tag that I have just held on to. It is just a piece of my gaming history.
Yeah.
And I have just come to identify as just Tim, or Timmy.
Yeah.
And so like Darkness is my gamer tag. It is just the part of my life that is a gamer. And so I hold on to that. It is weird. It is definitely weird, especially now as I'm starting to branch out
Right.
into other facets of my life. Magic the Gathering. I'm doing more fitness content. I'm a dad. I have more lifestyle stuff that is just naturally presented because that's just my life now. And so there even is now an evolution of even that branding now because
Yeah.
I'm not just a gamer.
Yeah.
I'm not just that live streamer like I was, 10, 11, 11 years now.
Yeah.
Things have changed. And so it's Darkness429 has no history other than that has been my gaming persona for a long time.
Was it a choice for the Darkness thing, or was it? If you remember, there was Xbox would give you like a username back in the day.
It was just like Darkness sounded like it sounded edgy, right?
Right.
It sounded kind of I was like, ooh, yeah, Darkness, And then like there's a League of Legends character, he's a jungler, I can't think of his name, but his alt he just like casts and he goes, Darkness. I was like, oh yeah,
This
sick.
is perfect.
And then people were like, Darkness! Like I never got that until I was a little bit older, but like that was like that's what people would do. And so I kind of just like ran with it. I accepted it. People like Darkness, I was like, yeah, that's me, Darkness,
So, I love it. When you talk about, starting the channel and, quitting your first like job to do this full time. What were some of like the kind of big challenges that you faced as a new content creator in this new landscape that you were just trying to figure out back in those early days? What were some of those challenges and how did you overcome them?
Going live.
Yeah.
Going live in of itself with a 2 PC setup was by far the most strenuous thing ever. My first streaming PC was built inside a cardboard box. I literally took an old PC that I had. At the time, I had a gaming PC that was kind of put together throughout college and it was kind of held together, with bubble gum and paper clips, right? Kind of MacGyvered that thing. And I went one step further because people were starting to talk about this whole idea of 2 PC streaming, where you game on one PC and you put all your encoding stuff and all of the streaming things would go on the other PC. I'm like, that's crazy. How do you do that? There wasn't a lot of options for capture cards, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the capture cards were designed for consoles. They weren't designed for PC.
Yeah.
And so coming up with ways of like, we didn't have HDMI 2.1 and we didn't have DisplayPort. We had DVI dual link back in the day. Do you know how hard it is to split a DVI dual link signal from a gaming monitor to a streaming PC? I had to buy a $500 splitter.
Yeah.
A splitter. Do you know that I capture my content now from my gaming PC to my streaming PC with no hardware at all, and it's just an Ethernet cable?
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing to me, but that was the hardest part. The hardest part was learning how to be a sound engineer. I didn't know how to balance my audio correctly.
Right.
I didn't understand how to do anything like that. I had no idea on how to balance lighting. I had no idea how to do any of this stuff. So to answer that question, going live at the time was one of the most difficult things to do because you had OBS and that was pretty much it. It was either OBS or God, what was
XSplit.
XSplit.
Yeah.
It was XSplit, and you had to pay a subscription to
Yeah, you
use that.
did.
So you would either go, sorry guys, you'd either go on Pirate Bay, you either go to Pirate Software, and you would download that, and you would try to run a like pirated copy of it. This is how hard it was to try to go live back in the day, and that was one of the ways that people did it. Is they'd pirate XSplit, or you start using OBS because OBS wasn't even out yet.
Yeah.
That didn't happen until a few years after the fact because it was just XSplit and there was one other option that you could send signals to Twitch. And so we used that. I remember using the free version of that for a long time. And then OBS came out and it made things so much easier. But even then,
Yeah.
that was difficult because everything ran on your CPU.
Mm-hmm.
There was no such thing as offsetting encoding to a GPU. So then you have to, not only are you an audio engineer, you're a lighting engineer, you're a video engineer, you're also trying to figure out how to make you're just trying to make all of that work on a single PC. So now you're an IT specialist.
Yep.
And you're trying to figure out how to offload CPU loads, and you're trying to figure out that, oh, if it's a temperature issue, so now I've got to get big fans and I got to try to cool my PC down because my air cooler isn't working. Well, now I got to try to get a liquid cooler. Oh my God. Liquid cooling back in the day was not easy. There was no such thing back in early, I would say 2000 what are we looking at? 2011, right? Like getting like those closed loop AIOs, like those were very expensive and they were new and they failed. And so, yeah, there was just a lot of little things where I look at now and I'm like, damn, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Because damn, it was really hard. Like the idea of using a DSLR, like a mirrorless camera as a face cam. How could I? There's no way. I was lucky enough to pull off a Logitech C920.
Right. Yep.
You know, so it's like it's funny to go back, and I had like a multi-camera setup like I do now, but I used to have USB cables just strung across my ceiling and down the walls and all this stuff, so I could pull off multi-cam shots. And yeah, I had to teach myself all of that, and so that was the hardest part. And honestly, the most satisfying part of it was being able to say I did that.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of people who could not do that at the time.
Yep.
And now everybody can go live. You can go live on your cell phone. You can go live on your tablet. You can go live off of one of these things. Did you know that people stream off of this? I didn't. You can run Meld off this thing.
It's crazy how much technology has brought the streaming and content space forward. Like it continues to evolve and you know, 4 years ago, like multi-streaming to all of the platforms wasn't a thing. You know, like there was some people
multiple PCs. Just
exactly. And now it's like, oh no, you just have this plugin in OBS and you're fine, or Meld or whatever. It doesn't matter. There's so many options for every creator now to figure it out the way that they want to, which is really good. I want to back up one quick, because we did have a really good question from chat from Queen of Salt. She asked, did you ever find it difficult to market your brand as someone with a tag that has numbers? If so, how did you work to kind of accommodate that?
I just cut the numbers off whenever I talked about myself.
Yeah, just darkness.
Like really, it was just darkness. You know, it was just darkness. You know, like everyone's like, "Well, what's your gamer head? You know, like what's your screen name?" I was like, "Oh, Darkness429." It was always kind of like, it's always been kind of weird too.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the parts of my story that is so interesting, is this like finding ways of living within that, like the confines of being a gamer, right? I kind of shot myself in the foot. Should I have rebranded at an earlier, stage of my life? Sure, but I didn't know what that was gonna look like. Again, there's no guide on how to do this, right?
Yeah.
There is, and now there is. I'm sure I could sit down and I could write a guide on what I think the best practices are, but that's the beauty of life.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here talking to you, is to make sure, is to give that insight. Has the landscape completely changed? Do I think that it is way more difficult to grow as a content creator and be seen?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is so difficult, but it's still extremely rewarding because it is the only form where you can really express yourself in a true way. And so like, I love content creation. Absolutely. And so, again, back to the question, it was always I don't think anyone ever, like, they just knew I'm Darkness.
Right.
Like, and that was it. I just accepted, like, Darkness is me and I'm that, but it's not an explanation as to who I am. It was just the handle. It was just the way that people got to me, was typing in twitch.tv/Darkness429 and they found Tim. You know,
Yep.
like
Hmm.
it's like I go to ABC and I watch my favorite show, you know, or I go I turn on, you know, HBO, you know, to go find that thing that I'm looking for. So I think that's how I always treated it is like
Right.
when people got to my page, they found me.
Right.
When they find me out at an event or they see me at Disney or wherever, it's always, "Hey Tim, how are you?"
Yeah.
You know, "It's good to see you." You know,
Yeah.
so it's like I think that's how I worked around it is I just always accepted that that's my gamer tag and I'm a gamer, but that's not
Yeah.
me.
But just using the darkness component, the 429,
Yeah, and
it's an
so
addition.
I always use the darkness, and when everyone's like, "What's darkness?" I'm like, "It's that creepy thing that's under your bed.
Yeah.
It's that scary thing in the closet." Because I come from a very competitive first-person shooter background.
Yeah.
You know, when I left Titanfall, I started, you know, I played Battlefield, but Rainbow Six
Yeah.
Siege was the competitive game for Darkness Fortune. Like, that's what put me on the map as a competitive gamer.
Yeah.
I mean, the people were trying to recruit me for esports teams at the time. Like they wanted me to go, ESL wanted me to go commentate in Poland for 6 months for the Rainbow Six Siege leagues. And I was like, I don't want to go to Poland for 6 months. I just got married. I'm doing
Right.
this
Yeah.
streaming thing. Oh my God. And they're like, you can bring your whole setup with you and you can
Yeah.
ship all this stuff over to Poland. That doesn't
Mhm.
seem like a good idea. So I'm not going to do that. But my buddy did, Bloodbath Wind did that. He did a great job. But yeah, so like that's just, you know, that was a lot of it is like I kind of I worked the brand to fit me.
Yeah.
And so I still use darkness. Like even if you see the D, like it's an I.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
it's that's an
Yep.
I, you know, of the scary thing that you'll
Right.
never see.
Right.
And so like
Yeah.
that's how I've always used it. You know, it's this mysterious thing because it really is still a mystery.
Right.
What is darkness fortune? I don't know. It's a scary thing under your
Yeah.
bed. It's that thing
Yeah.
it's thing in the closet you're scared of because I always loved being the monster in the lobby. I always loved just being like top fragging.
Yeah.
I'm very competitive.
Oh yeah.
Less competitive as I've gotten older. It's definitely started to, you know, calm down a bit. But yeah, that's still a big part of my DNA is just being competitive. So I think that's how I kind of owned it too, is like darkness is that competitive
Yeah.
part of my gaming.
And I think you've done a really good job of transitioning from just being like a gaming content creator to this more focused on you, Tim,
Yeah.
as the creator. And I think that's a thing that a lot of creators struggle with is, you know, you play a game and you zone in on that game and then you say, okay, I'm not having fun in this game anymore. And you move to another one and your audience is like, hey, why are you not playing this game? I'm gonna go watch this guy play that game. Right. And like,
Yeah.
building your audience and building that more around you as the creator versus whatever it is that you're playing goes a really long way. I would love to know kind of some of your strategies to position yourself as more of the focal point of the content than just the game that you're playing.
Yeah, the thing that you speak of, this idea of the uncertainty of switching, you know, directories,
Right.
changing games, or you know, kind of essentially mixing up the show that you're putting on, right? I didn't get that confidence until I went to Facebook.
Yeah.
When I got contracted for Facebook Gaming, having the consistent paycheck was what gave me the confidence in taking a investment in myself,
Yeah.
taking a chance on me, and being able to do the things that I wanted to. Now, granted, I also played the long game of I'm the Fortnite guy,
Yeah.
right? But I always found ways to break that up
Hmm.
because I could.
Yeah.
You know, it was like morning Fortnite, afternoon something else, or like this day is this and that day is going to be this. And so it's like it was building out a schedule, but it was also Facebook gave me the opportunity to go on a journey with my viewers and share moments with them that wasn't live.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that social media has, I think, allowed content creators to do, like Instagram or TikTok. It's given them the freedom within the short form to express the things that they are excited about without having to really change a lot
Yeah.
about them, right? Yeah, I'm pulling the curtain back and I'm showing you Tim, right?
Yeah.
And so by pulling the curtain back, I'm showing you that, oh, I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I love playing Magic the Gathering. I'm a workout freak. I love going to the gym. I think health and fitness is awesome. And as you start to pull that curtain back and expose, you'll find out that your audience also shares a lot of that.
Yeah.
And that I think
Yeah.
was the big catalyst, the accelerant when I started putting out like when I started taking my health and fitness seriously and I was sharing that with people, it got to a point where people were sharing with me their fitness journeys. They're like, oh, I lost 100 pounds. I've been doing this for, for 2 years because of you, and I lost 200 pounds.
Yeah.
I've done this, I've done that. And they're like, they credit it to me. And I'm like, oh, that's heavy.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like they're doing that because some dummy on the internet's playing video games. Like
Right.
I'm a goofball, dude. Like
Right.
I'm a dork, and I do silly stuff on camera because it's funny for me. And people were connecting with me at a not like surface level. It was deeper than that.
Right,
And
yeah.
so to your point, it's the community that I was able to build around not just the stream, but other things that were going on in my life. Like there are people still in my community that remember when I announced my wife was pregnant with our son.
Yeah.
Like that's, and he's 6 now, and people are still a part. People can remember streams from when I was still in my apartment, streaming out of our extra bedroom,
Right.
like, and so like being able to take people on that journey and making them feel invested, I think that was like really like the biggest thing. And something that I still absolutely like pride myself in is like, I might not have the biggest community in the world, but I still to this day, I get complimented on how great my community is. And I think that's awesome because it's something I take pride in because I've always said, a community is a reflection of the streamer. And I've always wanted to like have a really cool place for people to feel like happy and loved and
Yeah.
safe. And because those are things that I wish that I had, right? And so like, and I know there's so many other people out there that want that as well. And then so like, it's weird to say that, but like those are a lot of the driving forces as to why like I love my community.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of random people who thought this random guy was cool and they give him money. Like what in the world? Like that's
This
just
Darkness
still
guy. Right?
Yeah, right. Like I'll never forget my first tip on stream was $2. Like it was a $2 tip, and I'm like, why are you giving me money? This is silly. I'm just playing video games. But people find it's so much more than that. I think that's all the other part too, is it like you have to take confidence in yourself, knowing that you're more than just the game you're playing.
Yeah.
You're more than just the handle you have on Twitch or Kick or wherever you're creating content. Like it is so much more than that.
Yeah.
So
And it sounds like it's like being that person that you needed, right, for your community.
yeah, actually,
right?
I had made a short form video about that, and something that I've really been preaching to myself and kind of just being more aware of that is this idea of being the person that you needed the most when you needed it the most, right?
Right,
Like
yeah.
like there are moments in our lives where we wish that we had someone that could have answered that question or
Yeah.
could have been there to help carry that burden.
Yep.
And so being able to, and if it's just putting out, fitness content, because I wish that I had someone that I could have emulated or I could have gotten knowledge from. And I'm sure there were plenty of people in my life or that I could have reached out to, but I just didn't know how to, or I didn't know the
Right.
right question to ask, or when going live, like, or how there's so many things. There are so many things that I have gone through where I wish that I just had that person there. And so like that's really something that I've been thinking about a lot moving forward as to like what's next for Tim.
Yeah.
And I'm 35. Like this is like I can't sit here for 12 hours a day anymore. Like gone are the days of doing like 24-hour streams.
Right.
F that, not worth it. People ask you do subathons. I'm like, I'm not sleeping on this floor in an air mattress.
Nope,
I'm
nope.
sorry, I'm not doing that. I love my bed and I love sleeping next to my wife. So like that's no, like absolutely not. And so like that's for me. It's like I can't do. Like, it's not that I can't do that. I'm not willing to do it because I
Right,
don't
yeah.
want to.
Right.
But there are a lot of things that I am willing to do. There are things that I want to do. And so I really want to focus my time on that.
Yeah.
Back to the whole setting ourselves up for success when the live streaming part just isn't there anymore. And it's either I'm not there anymore, like I'm not in it, or it's just not viable anymore. And it's really weird to actually be in an economy right now where people are like, short form's king. And that's honestly you could do a whole podcast episode on the inversion of the funnel. And when I say that is because streaming, if you think of a funnel, streaming used to be at the top.
Mhm.
And what happened is as we went into the pandemic and COVID and being in lockdown, that funnel flipped.
Yeah.
And it hit the top? It was short form. Short form used to be at the bottom. Those were like funny dances and skits that you would just put out, but it was of no meat and potatoes, right? Like gone are the days of like finding Ninja at 100,000 viewers, and like that's how you found Ninja.
Right.
That's how you found us, was through live streaming, because that was the top of the funnel. You had so many people just kind of just flowing in, and you're like, oh, cool, welcome. Here's the rest of the stuff that I do. I do short, I do long form. I've got my Instagram, I've got my Twitter, I've got my Facebook. Follow me on all that stuff because it's far more intimate. It's going to be a far more intimate experience
Yep.
if you start following all of that stuff. But now live streaming is the intimate experience.
Yep.
Live streaming is designed not for the masses, but for the people who actually care about you the most.
Yep.
And that is wild for someone who was on the other side of that funnel, and to be in the middle when it's kind of like shifting, and then to be on the backside of it now and really realizing that, oh, people's attention spans have changed. Where people are putting their time and energy has changed. And honestly, the way that we digest gaming content has changed. You know, sitting through an 8-hour long playthrough, that doesn't happen anymore.
No.
People either take it in small chunks, or they're looking for those key moments. They're looking for something like, oh, how do I do this? Or what's that one thing, or an Easter egg? And that's about it.
Mhm.
And so it's very interesting. I know I sound like the get off my lawn kind of old timer when I'm saying that, but it really is an interesting effect to see like how live streaming has changed within 10 years.
You mentioned Facebook earlier, and I wanted to
Yeah.
jump back to that because in 2018 you made a pretty big jump. This is in the time frame of people getting contracts for YouTube and Facebook, and prior to that,
I was before all of them.
yeah, like this was a whole crazy thing that was happening. Talk to me what drew you to Facebook and what it was like there, and what that
Sure.
whole transition was like for your community of like picking it up and coming over here.
Yeah, so it comes back to EA actually. So we kind of have to set the scene
Okay.
before we can go into Facebook gaming. So 2 years prior to that, so we're 2016. A team of 2 from Facebook come to EA Play. Now, EA Play is an E3 event, very similar to
Rip E3.
rest in peace E3. So it's very similar to like how Summer Game Fest operates now.
Right.
You have a main show, you then have a bunch of opportunities to sit down and play, games that are being worked on by Electronic Arts. It was just their way of saving money. They didn't want to get tossed into the machine of E3. They wanted to save money, so they put on their own show. And Facebook showed up with 2 people, and they just posed this crazy idea. What if we told you could live stream on Facebook? And we all laughed. We're like, why would we do that? Why would we go to Facebook when we have Twitch? We're partnered. We have a non-compete part of our contract. Like, why would we screw up our futures of being Twitch streamers, #BleedPurple, when, and we could go hang out where the grandmas are? Like, why would we do that? Well, Stone Mountain, who wasn't a partnered streamer at the time, thought, why not? I'll do it. I'm making YouTube videos. I might as well go live stream over on. He was live streaming on Twitch, but he didn't have any strings attached. There was no contract. There was nothing. He was just kind of just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
So he started doing it. 2 years later, they come back and they're like, hey guys, this is a real thing. We actually this is a real thing. This is what David's been doing. David's been popping off, playing PUBG. Like at the time, David was playing a bunch of PUBG. He was probably getting like 1,000 viewers on Facebook, and which was like pretty crazy. Like
That's
that was
crazy.
like, I was like, oh my God, 1,000 viewers on Facebook is pretty nuts. And so I was watching it and I was kind of paying attention, but I was just like, man, I don't want to screw up my contract. I was like, I don't want to lose my partner badge. Like that's my income. Sponsored streams are great, but my monthly income mostly comes from subscribers and from the tips and stuff that they were giving. Well, I get a phone call from one of the community managers from EA one night. This is probably November of 2017. I'm like, hey, Facebook's recruiting. They want to launch this platform on Facebook, and they want live streamers to come launch this for gaming. I have to pick a couple people, and I thought you would do well with this. What do you think? Like, yeah. He's like, it pays pretty well.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'll talk to them. They can, shoot me some numbers. If it actually makes sense, sure. Well, they weren't pulling my leg. I got a phone call and I got an email, and we went back and forth. We redlined some things. And next thing I know, I'm off to LA to help launch the Facebook gaming pilot program. I wasn't allowed to say anything because I was under NDA. So I couldn't say anything to my Twitch partner, manager. I couldn't say anything to my audience. I was just slowly starting to go like to put things on my Facebook page, and people kind of notice.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing on Facebook? I was like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't look over here. There's nothing to see. And so I will never forget. I'll never forget this night. So we're in LA. We're at the Facebook gaming pilot program, like the party. Everyone's having a great time. But some of the Twitch partners that were there was a couple of other Twitch partners that were there, and they were really nervous. Like, I just got a text message from my partner manager. I'm like, oh shit. So so I get a phone call from my partner manager, and he's like, "Hey man, I saw this." I didn't answer it because I had no idea that he even had my number. This is the
Right,
crazy part,
yeah.
Bennett. I had no idea that I even had a Twitch manager.
Right, yeah.
And so I get this voicemail because I didn't pick it up, and lo and behold, it was my Twitch partner manager who doesn't work there anymore at the time. And he's like, "Hey man, I saw this crazy video go live with you in it, and it's you promoting Facebook gaming. I just found this very interesting because it would go against your partner contract." And I'm like, "Oh crap." so
Yeah.
I talked to my wife about it, and she's like, "Babe, it's a lot of money. This is a really cool opportunity for you to be on the number one social media platform at the time. Like Facebook was really starting to pick up speed. Like it was becoming a place where people were. It wasn't just for like your parent. It was no longer the place where the college kids were just owning. There was more people going into Facebook.
Right.
And so long story short, I didn't pay attention to that. I stayed the course, and I get to the point where I need to make my announcement. And this was the hardest part because I couldn't say anything other than I'm going to make this announcement right before I end my stream. And that's how I announced that I was going to Facebook. And this is right as Fortnite was starting to pick up. I
Yeah.
will never forget this moment because it was right after I had topped the charts as the number one streamer who had the most gifted subs in a stream. In one stream, within an 8-hour period, I broke Twitch. I broke their program. I had almost 1,000 gifted subs, which now is not a lot when you look at people like Kai Cenat and like other
Yeah.
people who get hundreds of thousands of gifted subs. But then the system was brand new and
Yep.
no one was doing it. And people were just tossing me subs because it was fun. The day after, I then said, "Hey guys, I'm going to Facebook." And I will never forget that moment because as soon as I ended, I was going to go to King Gathalion's house to do I was going to do the jam.
Yep.
And I was going to talk about me going to Facebook on the jam because those guys were my buddies already. I was already friends with Corey and Ben and Kevin. And so I was using them as a sounding board. I was using them as just bouncing off ideas. I was like, "Hey, like this is going to happen. Like, what do you guys think? Like, what should I do?" And so so they already knew about it. And I'm driving to Tampa. I lived in, where I was in Port St. Lucie at the time,
Yep.
on the east coast of Florida. I'm driving across the state and my phone goes off and I got banned from Twitch. I got an email. I got an email telling me that I was banned. I then got another email right after that saying that because I was subbed to myself because
Mhm.
I wanted to have my emote say subscribe to myself.
Right.
Says that my subscription to my channel had been removed
Yep.
and that they were going to refund the subscription. I was the first person on Twitch to publicly announce that I was going to another platform
Yeah.
for money. And then they didn't know how to handle me.
Yeah. They made
And
the decision
so
for you, right?
so instead of handling it like they should have, they decided to quickly just remove it. And so I will never forget that. That, Bennett, answers your question as to
Yeah.
what was it like going to Facebook? It was traumatic,
Yeah.
and I don't regret it. It took
Yeah.
me 6 months to get my final paycheck from Twitch.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we fought tooth and nail for an amount of money that was very silly to fight over. But that took about 6 months to get, and then I rode my Facebook gaming contract out for 5 years.
Yeah.
I rode that program all the way to the very end,
Yeah.
and I will not fault the people who, not to talk smack about Meta, and so I don't want to do. I know we're at a university podcast, but I just I want to give praise to the people that helped start that program. We put in a lot of time, a lot of effort. I did an entire press tour My first year, I talked to the Wall Street Journal, I talked to the Washington Post, I talked to the New York Times.
Yeah.
I did all of that stuff, and it was so cool to be a part of that. And it was also so stressful to watch decision makers realize that, oh, there's something shiny I should go after and not pay
Mhm.
attention to the things that we already have.
Yep.
And I think it's so frustrating to say, but we had it.
Yeah.
Like Facebook gaming, like that was it, man. Like they were doing some pretty cool stuff. And it was that weird, unfortunate time where like we were doing really well. And then we went into the pandemic and everyone's like, oh, we got to be online all the time. That's when like meta spaces and like all that stuff
Mhm.
really started to pop up. And so priorities went elsewhere. And so like as as all things, it eventually comes to an end.
Yeah.
And so Facebook gaming kind of came, it came to an end 2 years ago, and then I transitioned back over to YouTube and Twitch. And like honestly, it was super chill. Nothing like leaving and going to Facebook, coming
Right.
back and actually like launching into like YouTube. Crazy enough for a lot of Facebook people, they found that to be very comforting because the system is essentially the same on
Yeah.
Facebook that it is on YouTube. A lot of things were emulated. And then coming back to Twitch, it was really funny because people are like, "Where you been?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "You don't follow me on Twitter or anything else? You just thought I just disappeared into
Stopped
ether."
one
Some
day?
people thought I died.
Oh my
I
god.
come yeah, I come back 7 years later and I'm like, ta-da, or I guess like five. Yeah, it was like five and a, it was like, yeah, about 5.5 because multi-streaming wasn't even a thing. I went from Facebook just to YouTube. I was like, I'll just ride out YouTube
Yeah.
until whatever. And then multi-streaming came out like probably 6 months after or 4 months after. And I was like, hey, cool, I can just do everything now. And so the first stream back on Twitch was so funny because it's just like, where you been? Like, I don't know. Where have you been?
Did you find that a lot of that community that had followed you to Facebook came back to Twitch, or have they settled into other places like TikTok and YouTube?
Yeah, it's actually been really funny to see where people have ended up. A lot of the Facebook people, like my ride or dies, they went to YouTube. Some of them went to Twitch because they just like the the more gamified chat,
Mhm.
if you
Mhm.
will. That was one thing that just never clicked on Facebook was the meme culture
Right.
of Twitch.
Right. Right.
The gamer culture never was able to truly transcend from Twitch into Facebook.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was, oddly enough to say this now, a lot of people didn't want their grandma to know that they were watching some dude
Right.
playing video games.
Right.
Which
It's
is
your
which is
name, right? It'd be
wild.
like Bennett Newsome's commenting versus Damn It Bennett, right? Like there's
Yeah,
a
and so we had to
difference
do we
there.
had to like all these workarounds were like, okay, if you don't want your name to pop up in Facebook, you have to make a fan page. And like there were all of these like workarounds that people were down to do, or they just accepted it. They're like, yeah, that's my name, and I'm gonna block my grandma or like whatever.
Right.
Or grandma would end up in the chat and she becomes a fan.
There
Like
you go.
honest to God, that's how tactical grandma came to be because she was a fan of Pool Shark and I,
Yeah.
and she would watch us play Facebook, or she would watch us play Fortnite on Facebook, and then she was like, I can do that too.
Yeah.
And now Michelle streams all the time, and she's super successful on TikTok, and she's crushing it.
Yeah, she is.
But like that was someone's grandma that showed up in someone's stream to watch. Or like I'll never forget, dude. There was one comment that has stuck with me for forever. And it was back in the day in Facebook, there was a thing called chaining. And it's very similar to what we have now on Instagram or TikTok. It's a swipe. It's literally chaining is just the technical jargon for what happens after that initial video that you watch.
Right.
And so chaining is just what comes next after I swipe. And so back in the day on Facebook, it was like, it would be like cat memes. It would be like a crazy car jumping across a thing. It'd be a news update, and then it'd be live stream.
Yeah.
It'd be like Tim playing Fortnite. And people in what was crazy is that on Facebook at the time, people didn't know what Twitch was. The Facebook culture never
Just never got there,
transcended
yeah.
to Twitch. It never got there. So I got to be one of the first people to expose people to live streaming.
Right,
And
yeah.
so the comment was, I was just watching a cat video and now I'm here. This is really cool.
Yeah.
That was it. And that was always like, and for some reason, that comment sticks in my head because that person was just doom scrolling and found some random person playing Fortnite and they fell in love with that.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is when I go to other people's streams or people come to an event and like they might not be a fan of me and that's fine, but they will come up and say, you got me into video gaming, or I'm in this person's community because of you.
Right.
And so it's like, I pride myself in that, not because I'm a dragon and I want to hoard all these people and I need them to like tell me that they love me. No, I don't need that. But knowing that I was able to like open up a whole new world to them is so cool. It's so neat that I got to do that.
I love that, and this space brings so many people together, and community is such a big thing that you guys do. Obviously, GCX and the charitable work that Rare Drop has been doing for the last decade has been insane. Talk to me a little bit about like what goes into Tim outside of streaming, but in more the focus of things like GCX and Rare Drop.
Yeah, I mean, like for the most part, like when it comes to GCX, so I take Wednesdays off now, just because GCX is like has become a pretty big deal. But a lot of this, the reason why I started working with the Rare Drop guys and they wanted me to do more was because I know a lot of people.
Yeah,
I'm a very fortunate individual to just be well connected.
yeah,
And that was my big thing. And I was like, oh yeah, like they would be talking about an issue. I'm like, oh, I know that guy. Let me introduce
yeah,
you to that guy. I know who that is. Or if I didn't know who that person was, I knew the person who knew the person. And so that was always that it still is to this day something that I pride myself in so much is being able to be a connector.
yeah,
I really like being able to I know that guy and I know this person and I could solve their problem by getting them to talk.
yeah.
It's really cool. It's a really neat thing. And so I kind of like own that as business development. And so like that's my big job with GCX is going out and either using my book of business or going out and finding new business to get them to want to be involved in GCX as Gaming Community Expo.
Right.
What does it look like? Either you come in as a sponsor, or or you're involved in the game showcase that we just started this year.
Yep.
Andy Lunique and I have started the GCX game showcase, which is a big focus on indie developers, which is awesome because I really truly believe that indies are they're going through this renaissance period. Like
Yeah.
we are really starting to see this the idea of a single man team creating the levels of a AAA studio game, which is insane.
Yeah.
And so I want in mods. We showed off a Starfield mod that looks like a brand new game that I thought Bethesda was making at first. Like, what is this? Oh, it's Starfield. That's not Starfield. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy to me. And so like that's the one thing that I've really prided myself on recently in what we've been doing is the two things for GCX, which have been big for me, is our tabletop tavern
Yep.
because I love cardboard. I can't stop. I love Magic, and so like that's a part of like again back to the whole community building. I've been able to build a sub community within my main community that is just based around Magic the Gathering, and then being able to have that opportunity of sharing that passion with so many other communities, and we all come together and we're like, yeah, let's play Magic. Let's appreciate a card game. Like that was really cool to me, and I really wanted to own that. And so the tabletop tavern kind of like really became my baby and then the game showcase has also been a big thing for me. But now it's also looking at this community. What are we bringing to the table as far as like community for the gaming community expo? And we really showcased that with Fallout this year. The
Yeah, you
Fallout
really did.
experience that we
It
had
was
this year,
incredible.
and big shout out to Fallout for Hope and Ken for using his connections to bring more people together. Like Scotty K Fitness was
Scotty
there
K,
because
yeah.
not because he's Scotty K Fitness, not because he's there to like do workouts and stuff, it's because he freaking loves
He
Fallout,
loves
dude.
Fallout, dude. It's
Just
awesome.
loves Fallout and he wanted to hang out with his people. And like that, and again, back to like tabletop tavern. I want to sling spells with my people. Scotty wanted to hang out with his Fallout people,
Yep.
and the Destiny people come to GCX because it used to be the Destiny Community Con. It
Yep.
used to be Guardian Con.
Yep.
It's still in our roots, and so it's just like what's been really cool for me is to realize we have all these communities that want these experiential parts of our event to like be in the wasteland or be in the tower or to be in Borderlands or whatever it is and to celebrate that with their friends, whether it's through cosplay or through its activities like playing Magic the Gathering, whatever that is. And so like that's been really fun for me with this business development going into next year is really like looking at the full picture of like really bringing those experiences within those communities to life.
Yeah.
And so like that's been awesome. And then like like you said with the community set with the charity part of it is understanding that there's so much good still left to do and there's so many ways that we can go about doing that. Being able to incorporate so many different facets of the gaming community to showcase gaming does good.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it was incredible. I was honored to be part of the marathon again this year, which was a huge deal, and it was so much fun, and brings me back to year one, being a part of that, and then year 10 was a really cool experience for me. But Yeah, man. I do have another question from chat, and I don't want to
Sure.
miss it, so we're gonna ask it before we run out of time here. It comes from Jacob is Nachos. He says, "What advice do you have for an upcoming streamer when it comes to the importance of a personal brand?"
You've gotta find the thing that not only makes you stick out, what makes you special, but also what speaks to like who are you?
Yeah,
You know, like what is it that you're bringing? Like, and it's weird now because like we find ourselves in a day and age where people want to be connected more than ever.
yeah,
People want to be connected in the content creator's life more than ever now. They want to build those connections with the person that they're digesting. They're digesting all of you. They're not just digesting your content, but they're digesting the clothes you wear, the things you drink, the all of those facets of your life they're taking in. And so it's like, what do you do that makes you special, that stands out? And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's not like I ride a unicycle. It's not like I'm jumping over, I'm not parkouring off my house, but there are things that I really enjoy doing that people look to me for. Whether it was like when I was streaming and I love teaching. And so like Evolve was a big game for me when I first started that I taught people how to play Evolve. I was the number one Kraken player in the world. And so I taught people how to play the Kraken
yeah,
in Evolve. I'll never forget 3-point lightning strike, the rush on point. Like that was my thing. 30-second matches over. Thinking back on that, miserable. I
yeah.
feel terrible for those people, and I'm probably one of the reasons why that game died. A lot of people are like, "Streamers killed this game." I'm like, "No, yeah, we did,
Yeah.
absolutely."
We'll take this one.
Yeah, sorry. No, but really, like that, and those are the things. Like, it's I think the focus on the name takes so much of your mental process away from everything else that you're trying to do.
Right.
Whereas really the name is the cherry on top. The name is really just what kind of just gives you that identity, but it's so much more of like, what do I love? How do I package that in a way where people can understand it in a very simplistic way, because people could love like rocket science, for example. You might be really good at math, but are you going to explain rocket science to just a person who hasn't done calculus?
Yeah.
Like it's like talking a completely different language. And so being able to translate that into a way where people can understand it, whether it's you're doing it through your captions or you're doing it through how you capture your video. You might be a short form content creator. You might not live, you might not ever speak into a microphone. I've seen content creators where they don't use their voice at all and they
Yeah.
tell their story through how they do their shots or you know what, or the music that they compose or whatever it is. There are so many ways to tell your story
Yeah.
and to showcase your passion, and the brand is really just the really pretty bow that you put on top of it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
And so the things that you should really be worried about, and I wouldn't say worried about, but the things that you really should think about is what makes my content stand out from everybody else. I've been cracking packs in my car after the gym because it's fun for me. But there are so many other people that crack packs in their car and they
Yeah.
put that up on Instagram. So now I'm thinking, okay, well then how do I put the Tim twist on it? What is it that Tim can do to put the Tim twist on a piece of content that everybody does? Just like Borderlands. I'm struggling with Borderlands right now. I'm not great with making content on a looter shooter.
Yeah.
I love playing looter shooters. I love streaming looter shooters. Can I make short form content and tell a story through that right now? Absolutely not. I don't know how to do it,
Yeah.
but I'm learning how to do it. I'm figuring out, okay, there are, and that's a challenge. And I think that's the other part of it too, is with your content creation career. And if you are a new and upcoming, content creator, because you're not just a streamer. I
Yeah.
don't think saying that I'm an up and coming streamer is a thing you can say in 2025 anymore. It's just there are so many facets to content creation that live streaming is just a part of it.
Yeah. One
But
component.
there's so much more to it, which is great because short form, honestly, it's scary, but it is freeing because it allows you to really curate a piece of content that you're extremely passionate about and show it in a way that makes sense to you, that you can take pride in and share that with your community. And you might not find 5,000 viewers. You might find 100 viewers that you really like your content and they're consistently coming back and finding your thing. Take pride in that. Like that's 100 people that really love what you do. And those 100 people are going to tell their friends that they really like this stuff. And it's going to take time, but don't get caught up on the the name or the brand.
Yeah.
Get caught up on the things that you're passionate
Yep.
about.
Yep.
Get caught up on making that content.
Yeah, there's so many things that you can get stuck in the weeds about.
Oh,
The overlays, the logo, like all none of that necessarily really
Bro,
matters.
there was a thing. I would religiously do this like every 3 months. Back in the day, I would change I made all of my graphic assets. They were all made by me. I made my overlays. I made my little buttons because back in the day, the Twitch layout was completely different. I did it all by hand. And I did that every 3 months. Every 3 months, I'd be like, taking the day off. I'm going to be like remaking stuff. And I would just do something different because I was never happy in my skin. It's like my merch. I had to literally start a merch company to get to a point where I was comfortable in wearing my own clothes.
Right.
But that's a journey. That's a story to tell. That's a story that I get to tell and say, these companies that put out streamer merch, they don't make me happy. I don't like wearing it. I wanted to make my own stuff so I could finally feel good in my own clothes. And so those are things like you need to feel good in your own skin and take pride in those things. Yeah. Everything else will come after the fact.
I love it. Yeah.
Yep.
Tim, we are out of time, which is...
Dude, I feel like I talked so much. I could keep going. I love getting to talk to you. So thank you very much for having me.
Of course. I want to obviously give you a chance to shout out anything that you're working on or where people could find you, how to get in touch with you, all of those things. And then I got one last question for you before we go. But obviously love having you on the show. And you make it easy when we just have this conversation. You know, this is the best. So go ahead and shout out where people can find you, all those things.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok. It's Darkness429 everywhere for right now. But you can also find me if you're a big Magic fan and you want to come play Commander on Sundays. You can check me out at commanderandcoffee.com. You can sign up there. We've got pre-con tables, we've got CEDH tables, and everything in between. So if you want to come hang out, commanderandcoffee.com is the place to be. And if you want to come watch video games or fitness content or just me being a goofball, it's Darkness429 everywhere.
Love that. What is like the most surprising or unexpected lesson that you learned through streaming?
Bro, that is a heavy hitter.
I know.
There have been a lot of life lessons. I know. And oddly enough, it is something that I have learned just recently. And here's the thing: it's a Taylor Swift quote, and it's treat your energy like an expensive item. Right. And so there are going to be people that can't afford your energy.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing that I want to tell all content creators is that you're going to find these people that find your content and they're going to say it's cringy. They're going to say that's stupid. They're going to tell you to go back to the game that you started playing or all of these things. There's going to be so much noise. But those people can't afford your energy and they're not worth it. So take joy in the people that can afford your energy, the people that are there day in and day out, that are supportive. And you're going to find people who might be supportive and are there day in and day out, and they are also not worth your energy. So understand that, yes, there are a lot of people that you are going to run into. There are going to be a lot of people that are going to see your face, and they're all going to have a comment. And it might not be good, but understand that if you are getting those comments, you're doing the right thing. And understand that it's a journey and it's not a sprint. And if you're really passionate about it, you're going to find ways of making it work for you. So don't give up when it's hard, because if it's hard, that means you're passionate about it. That means you're feeling it. That means you love it. Because anything that we've ever loved in our lives, it was not easy. It's not easy to get it. It's not easy to hold on to it. So if it's hard and you still love it, then it's working.
I love it, man.
There it is.
We'll have to have like a part 2 because I have like 25 more questions. So we'll do a part 2 sometime.
Part 2 next time.
But I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and we will see you guys next time. Have a great one.
See you guys.